Nestled along the jagged coastline of Samar, where the Pacific waves crash against cliffs draped in wild greenery, lies a small fishing town called Guiuan. Today, it's quiet. Its narrow streets lined with weathered wooden homes, its church bell rusting under salt air, and its shoreline dotted with the remnants of a forgotten past. Few who visit know that during the dark days of World War II, this unassuming town became the unlikely refuge that changed the fate of countless soldiers. Guiuan was once just another coastal settlement, where fishermen rose with the sun and children chased each other barefoot along the sands. But in 1944, when the World's War reached the Pacific, the town's name would be etched, quietly, humbly, into the pages of history. The story begins not with armies, but with whispers carried by the sea. Word spread that Japanese forces were sweeping through the islands, taking control of towns and coasts, cutting off routes to freedom. American and Filipino soldiers, stranded after the fall of Leyte and Samar's coastal defenses, were forced into hiding. For those fleeing the Japanese patrols, Guiuan was both a mirage and a miracle. The town's geography, its mangrove swamps, its dense coconut groves, and its isolated coves made it the perfect place to disappear. As the first groups of exhausted soldiers arrived, the townspeople faced an impossible choice. Helping them meant death. The Japanese occupied neighboring towns and punished anyone caught aiding Americans. But Guiuan had its own kind of courage. The people didn't see soldiers. They saw sons, brothers, fathers. And so the fishermen opened their huts, the women shared their rice, and the children learned to keep secrets bigger than themselves. One of those who remembered was Lola Esperanza, who, even in her old age, could still describe the night the first soldiers stumbled into their village. "They came from the sea," she once said, her voice trembling. "Thin, bleeding, hungry. We thought they were ghosts." The townsfolk carried them into the chapel, the only place with strong walls, and nursed them with coconut water and fish broth. The priest, Father Domingo, who had refused to flee when the Japanese came, turned his church into a sanctuary. The locals hid the soldiers in rice granaries and fishing boats pulled far inland. They disguised their uniforms with woven palm leaves and dressed them like fishermen. The town became a secret harbor, a breathing miracle sustained by silence. For months, the Japanese never suspected a thing. But survival came at a price. The people lived in constant fear. Patrol boats roamed the coastline. One wrong word, one wandering eye, could expose them all. And yet not a single soul betrayed the hidden soldiers. Children learned to run messages under baskets of dried fish. Women smuggled medicine through the forests. Every dawn, the sound of the ocean became both comfort and warning, a reminder that danger drifted closer each day. Then, in late 1944, the sea delivered something unexpected: hope in the form of a radio signal. The Allied forces were preparing to reclaim the Philippines, beginning with Leyte Gulf. Guiuan's location, strategically placed between the embattled islands, became vital. American scouts, hiding among the villagers, sent out secret transmissions to passing Allied ships. And when the liberation began, Guiuan became one of the first landing points for U.S. Navy units setting up relief operations. The transformation was sudden. One morning, the horizon shimmered with the silhouettes of warships, and for the first time in years, the people of Guiuan saw the flag of freedom flutter again. The soldiers they had sheltered stepped out from hiding, their faces thin, but their eyes bright with gratitude. The Americans embraced their rescuers like family, and for a brief moment, the war's cruelty gave way to humanity. But freedom's arrival also brought tragedy. The Japanese, realizing they had been deceived, launched desperate attacks on the coast. Guiuan became a battlefield overnight. The villagers who had given everything now faced fire and death. The same shores that had once hidden hope were now lit by explosions. Eyewitnesses spoke of the night the town burned, the sound of bombs mixed with the cries of fishermen trying to save their boats, of mothers shielding children under shattered roofs. The church that once served as a refuge was torn apart by shell fire. In the chaos, Father Domingo refused to flee. He stood at the altar, praying for mercy as the walls crumbled around him. When dawn came, the town was smoke and ruin. Dozens of lives were lost. But the soldiers survived, smuggled through mangrove paths by the very people who had already risked everything for them. They escaped to the mountains and regrouped with Allied forces pushing north. By the time the Americans returned to reclaim Guiuan, months later, the town was a ghost of itself. The survivors rebuilt from ashes, piece by piece. They buried the dead quietly, without markers, only memories. And as the years passed, their story faded too, overshadowed by grander tales of battles and generals. Today, few visitors know that the airstrip near Guiuan, once built by American engineers after the liberation, was born from the bravery of its people. It became one of the largest U.S. air bases in the Pacific, a lifeline for operations across the region. But long before that, it had been a refuge, built not of steel and runways, but of compassion. Decades later, an American veteran named Robert Hayes returned to Samar, carrying a weathered photograph of the town. He had been one of the soldiers saved by Guiuan's people. In his picture, taken in 1944, a group of villagers smiled beside a fishing boat. Among them was a young woman named Isabel, who had risked her life to feed him and his men. Hayes had promised her, before the final evacuation, that he would come back one day. But when he finally did, 50 years later, Guiuan was no longer the same. He found the town rebuilt, its church standing tall again, but most of the old faces were gone. No one could tell him what became of Isabel. Only an elderly woman sitting by the shore said softly, "Those who helped you never forgot, but the world forgot them." As Hayes watched the waves, he realized that the story of Guiuan was more than an act of wartime kindness. It was a story of a people's unyielding spirit, a town that gave everything and asked for nothing in return. But what Hayes didn't know was that buried beneath Guiuan's sands was one final secret, one that would change everything he thought he knew about that time. The tides began to rise, uncovering pieces of rusted metal and wood, fragments of something long lost. And as the waves pulled back, the faint shape of an old American insignia glimmered beneath the water. The water shimmered beneath the fading sun as Robert Hayes knelt on the shore, the tide curling around his boots. What he saw glinting below the surface was unmistakable. A corroded piece of a U.S. military plane, its insignia faint but still visible after decades under the sea. Guiuan's beach was giving up its secrets. The old fisherman beside him whispered, "Many things were left behind, but some things were never meant to be found." The discovery stirred something deep within Hayes. For years, he had believed the town's story ended with its destruction and eventual liberation. Yet here was evidence that perhaps Guiuan's role in the war was far greater than anyone had ever told him. Over the next days, Hayes wandered the town, speaking with anyone who still remembered those years. Slowly, the fragments of a forgotten history began to piece themselves together. They told him of a storm, one that came weeks after the last battle. The Americans had returned to build an airbase on the edge of Guiuan, using leftover supplies and broken planes from the war. But one aircraft, loaded with medical supplies and classified documents, never made it off the ground. Locals said it sank into the shallows during a typhoon, and the Americans left it there, buried under sand and coral. No record of it remained in the official archives. At first, Hayes thought it was just a rumor born from wartime confusion, but then he found something else. An old diary, sealed inside a metal container and kept safe by the descendants of a man named Miguel Santos, the same fisherman who had helped him escape in 1944. Miguel had written everything down: names, dates, and a heartbreaking confession. The diary told of a promise between the townspeople and the American soldiers, one that had been erased from history. According to Miguel's words, after the Japanese bombardment, the survivors of Guiuan had rescued not only Hayes and his men, but also an entire group of wounded soldiers from another downed American plane. The townspeople hid them for weeks, tending to their injuries until Allied reinforcements arrived. When the war ended, the Americans vowed to return and rebuild the town in gratitude. But bureaucracy, politics, and time buried that promise. Guiuan was never rebuilt by the government. It was rebuilt by its own people. Hayes's hands trembled as he turned each page. The diary spoke of Isabel, too, the young woman who had become a symbol of quiet bravery. It revealed that she had refused evacuation, staying behind to care for the wounded. She and several villagers had perished during a final raid that was never reported in official war accounts. Their graves were unmarked, their names unrecorded. "The sea keeps their memory," Miguel had written. "As long as the waves touch Guiuan, their spirits live." Haunted by these words, Hayes felt a pull he couldn't ignore. He worked with local divers to explore the waters where the insignia had appeared. What they found beneath the sand wasn't just an old fuselage. It was a sealed cargo hold filled with rusted crates, marked U.S. Army Medical Relief. Inside the corroded boxes were bandages, morphine vials, surgical tools, and faded envelopes addressed to the American Red Cross. But among the debris, wrapped in oilcloth, was something unexpected. A bundle of letters, carefully tied with a strip of cloth embroidered with the name Isabel Santos. The letters were hers, written to a soldier named R. Hayes, never delivered. Each one carried fragments of the town's final days, her hopes, her fear, her belief that even if they never met again, what they had done together would matter to someone someday. Hayes read them on the beach as the waves rolled in, each word a ghost from a time that refused to die. He realized then that Guiuan hadn't just saved soldiers, it had preserved a piece of humanity that war could not destroy. The townspeople had hidden strangers in their homes, shared food they barely had, and faced death with unwavering compassion. And yet history had written them out, leaving only silence. Hayes decided that silence could no longer stand. With help from local historians, he launched a small campaign to honor Guiuan's wartime heroes. Archival footage, recovered documents, and Miguel's diary formed the basis of what would become a long-overdue recognition by both the Philippine and U.S. governments. Decades after the war, medals of honor and certificates of appreciation were finally sent to the surviving families of those who had risked everything. On the day of the ceremony, the church bells rang again, the same bells that had once called villagers to prayer during the darkest nights of occupation. The rebuilt chapel, standing where Father Domingo once prayed as bombs fell, was filled with descendants of those who had lived through the war. Photographs lined the walls, black and white faces of fishermen, mothers and children whose courage had been forgotten by history. Hayes, now frail and leaning on a cane, stood before them and spoke softly. "When I was young," he said, "I thought soldiers won wars. But it was the kindness of people like you, your grandparents, your parents, that saved us. You are the true heroes of Guiuan." As the crowd wept quietly, a breeze swept through the chapel, carrying with it the scent of the sea. Outside, children played near the water, their laughter echoing across the sand where the old wreck still lay beneath the waves. The past and the present seemed to meet in that moment, a bridge built of memory and gratitude. Years later, a small museum was built near the shoreline, dedicated to the hidden heroes of Guiuan. Inside its modest walls were artifacts retrieved from the sea, rusted helmets, fragments of letters, and Miguel's diary displayed beneath glass. Tourists who came to see the old airstrip would sometimes stumble upon it, surprised to learn that this quiet coastal town once saved the lives of hundreds during the war. But to the people of Guiuan, it was never about recognition. They had long understood what history had taken decades to see, that the strength of a nation doesn't always come from battlefields or generals, but from the quiet resolve of ordinary people. Their ancestors had chosen compassion over fear, unity over survival, and in doing so they had rewritten the meaning of heroism. One evening, before leaving the Philippines for the last time, Hayes returned to the beach where he had first landed as a frightened young soldier. The tide was low, and the waves whispered softly against the shore. He placed Isabel's letters back into a small wooden box and buried them in the sand where the wreck once lay. He whispered a final promise. "You were never forgotten." As he turned to go, the horizon blazed gold and crimson, as if the sea itself remembered the courage that once burned here. In that moment, the forgotten Filipino town no longer felt forgotten at all. Its story of sacrifice, faith, and love had finally found its way home. Guiuan remained what it had always been, a place where humanity triumphed quietly, without need for recognition or reward. Its people were the guardians of a legacy written not in books or medals, but in the hearts of those who had lived and those who had been saved. And as the sun dipped below the Pacific, the waves rolled in again, each one carrying whispers of the past, each one singing the same eternal refrain. Some towns fade from maps, but never from memory. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and join our growing community.